The conference room buzzed with alien voices. Representatives from 12 different species sat around the circular table, their bodies ranging from insect-like to something that looked like floating gas. They were discussing history, specifically the extinct species that once called themselves humans. "Another ridiculous claim," said the delegate, waving three of his arms dismissively. "Someone found old radio signals and now they think humans are alive somewhere. Humans died 300 years ago. Everyone knows this." The others nodded in agreement. Humans were a cautionary tale now, nothing more. A species that destroyed their own planet and vanished into history. Teachers told stories about them to young aliens as warnings about primitive behavior. Far across the galaxy, Captain stood on the bridge of the Defiance, staring at the ship was old, built by his great-grandparents during the Exodus. When Earth went silent, not all humans died. Thousands escaped in colony ships, fleeing to the edges of known space where no one looked. "Sir, we're picking up something," said the communications officer, her fingers dancing across the console. "It's not one of ours." Felt his stomach tighten. For 3 centuries, humanity had hidden. They built colonies on forgotten moons and dead asteroids. They kept communication signals tight and encrypted. They survived by being invisible. "How close?" he asked. 2 days out, maybe less. It's an exploration vessel design." Doctor looked up from her station. She was the colony's chief scientist, a woman who understood both technology and strategy better than anyone knew. "They might just pass by," she said, but her voice carried doubt. The young pilot, who always seemed too confident for his own good, laughed from his corner. "Or they might spot us and realize the bedtime stories their parents told them were real." "This isn't funny," said sharply. "If they find us, everything changes." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what he meant. Humanity had spent 300 years in the shadows. They had children who never saw Earth, who only knew cold asteroid colonies as home. They survived because the galaxy forgot about them. On the exploration ship Truthseeker, a young researcher named studied his monitors with confusion. He specialized in extinct species, particularly in proving or disproving myths about them. Most of his job involved disappointing treasure hunters who thought they found proof of legendary beings. But this signal was different. It used old human encryption patterns, ones he'd studied in historical databases. The signal was weak, almost invisible, but it was there. "Commander, I need you to see this," said, forwarding the data. The ship's commander looked at the information and frowned. "This is probably just echoes bouncing off some moon, human signals from old satellites." "But sir, this signal is active. It's recent, maybe only days old." "Humans are extinct. Don't waste our time chasing ghosts." But couldn't let it go. He plotted the signal's origin and found it came from a dead system, one with no resources worth claiming. No one had visited it in over a century. What if something was there? He sent a coded message to his mentor back at the Galactic Research Institute. If he was right, this would be the discovery of his lifetime. Back on the Defiance called an emergency council meeting. The colony's leaders gathered in the small room that served as their government center. The head of their small defense force sat with her arms crossed. Minu, their chief engineer, looked worried. Sara, their diplomat, seemed thoughtful. "They've altered course," said without preamble. "They're coming here." "How long?" asked. 18 hours, maybe 20. "We need to evacuate," Minu said immediately. "Pack up what we can and scatter." "To where?" asked. "Every colony we have is mapped and coordinated. If we run and they follow one ship, they find the whole network." Sara leaned forward. "Maybe we don't run, maybe we talk to them." Everyone turned to look at her. "Think about it," she continued. "We've been hiding for 300 years. We're tired. Our children are tired. Maybe it's time to come out of the shadows." "And say what?" demanded. "Hello, we're the species you thought was dead, please don't kill us." Maybe something like that, yes. Rubbed his face. He was so tired of hiding, but he was also terrified of what might happen if they revealed themselves. The galaxy had moved on without humans. What place did they have in it now? "We vote," he said finally. "Stay hidden and hope they pass by, or make contact and see what happens." The vote was close, but contact won by a single voice. 18 hours later, Sora sat in a small shuttle with two other diplomats, flying toward the alien vessel. Her heart pounded in her chest. Behind her, on the Defiance, watched the with every sensor focused on that tiny shuttle. Stood beside him. "Whatever happens next," she said quietly, "we're not myths anymore." Nodded. For better or worse, humanity was about to step back into the light. He just hoped the galaxy was ready for them. On the Truth Seeker, alarms suddenly blared. An unknown craft was approaching, broadcasting a message in an ancient language. "It's human," whispered, staring at his screen in shock. "Commander, it's actually human. They're alive." The commander's face went pale. Humans alive. This was impossible. And yet the shuttle kept coming, carrying with it the weight of 300 years of secrets. Sora's shuttle docked with the alien ship, the magnetic clamps sealing with a hiss that made her jump. She took a deep breath and looked at her two companions. A translator who knew 17 alien languages gave her a nervous nod. Their security officer kept her hand near her sidearm. "Remember," Sora said, "we're here in peace. Smile, be calm, and don't threaten anyone." The airlock opened. Three stood waiting, their four eyes blinking in sequence. The middle one stepped forward, his translator device crackling to life. "You claim to be human," he said, his voice carrying disbelief. "This is not possible. Humans are extinct." "We're very much alive," Sora replied, keeping her voice steady. "We've been surviving out here for 300 years. We mean you no harm. We just want to exist in peace." The commander looked at them like they were creatures from a nightmare. His skin changed color, fading to a pale gray that Sora's cultural briefing said meant fear or shock. "This changes everything," he muttered. "The historical records, the treaties, the territorial divisions, they were all made assuming humans were gone." "We stayed hidden because we were afraid," Sora explained. "After Earth went silent, the survivors just wanted to live. We didn't want to cause problems." The young researcher couldn't stop staring at them. Real humans, standing right in front of him. His academic career was made, but something in their eyes worried him. They looked like people who knew how to survive against terrible odds. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Sora explained where they came from, how many colonies existed, and what they wanted. It was simple, really. Recognition. The right to exist. Maybe trade agreements someday. But the commander's face grew darker as she spoke. "I need to report this to the Galactic Council," he said finally. "You will remain here while we establish proper protocols." "We'd rather return to our ship," Sora said carefully. "That's not a request." His hand moved toward her weapon. Sora grabbed her wrist, shaking her head slightly. They were outnumbered and on an alien ship. Starting a fight here would doom them all. Back on the Defiance, watched the diplomatic shuttle remain docked to the alien vessel long past when it should have returned. His jaw tightened. "They're holding them," said, stating what everyone already knew. Stood beside the captain's chair, already planning. She commanded a defense force of only 200 soldiers, but every one of them trained daily. 300 years of hiding taught humans to be ready for anything. "We should assume they're hostile," said. "Start evacuation procedures." Wade raised his hand. "We don't know what's happening yet." 3 days passed. The ship remained in orbit and Sora's team stayed trapped aboard it. Then another ship arrived, and another. Soon, 5 alien vessels surrounded the human colony. A message came through, audio only. "Attention, human colony. This is Commander of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Your existence violates several galactic laws established after your species' extinction. You are unauthorized survivors occupying space designated for other species. You will prepare for relocation to a containment world where you can be properly monitored. Felt rage boil in his chest. Containment world, they want to put us in a cage. It's worse than that, said, studying the data coming from their sensors. I'm reading weapons charging on 3 of those ships. I don't think relocation is their real plan. Minu burst into the bridge. Sir, I've been monitoring their communications. They're not debating what to do with us. They're deciding how to erase us efficiently. They're calling us an anomaly that needs correction. They're going to kill us, said flatly, because we don't fit their version of history. Looked around his bridge at the people who trusted him to lead. 300 years of hiding, and it came to this. The galaxy didn't want them to exist. Not without a fight, he said quietly. Smiled grimly. I was hoping you'd say that. The aliens sent a small strike force to the colony 12 hours later. 6 fighters and a carrying troops. They expected an easy operation against a primitive colony barely surviving on a dead rock. What they got was hell. Had prepared every defensive position in the colony. The humans knew their terrain perfectly. When the alien fighters entered the asteroid field surrounding the colony, mines activated. Old technology, simple but effective. 2 fighters exploded immediately. The remaining fighters scattered, trying to locate the mines. That's when, launched from a hidden hangar, flying a fighter the aliens never saw coming. His ship was old, built from salvaged parts and human ingenuity, but he flew it like an extension of his body. He took out another fighter before they even knew he was there. They landed on the colony's surface, and troops poured out. They wore advanced armor and carried weapons that could level buildings. 50 soldiers against 200 defenders sounded like bad odds for the humans. But the aliens fought by rules, by doctrine taught in academies. Humans fought to survive. Soldiers appeared from everywhere. From behind rocks, from hidden bunkers, from tunnels the aliens didn't know existed. They used the low gravity to bounce and dodge. They used improvised weapons alongside military ones. They set traps and ambushes. The alien troops fell back in confusion. This wasn't how extinct species were supposed to fight. These humans were vicious, creative, and absolutely refused to surrender. Within an hour, the alien strike force retreated. They left behind equipment and even some wounded soldiers, who the humans treated and returned. On the command ship, commanders stared at the reports in disbelief. A primitive colony had defeated a galactic peacekeeping strike force. It was humiliating. It was impossible. But it happened. Send a message to the council, he ordered. The humans are more problematic than expected. We need a larger force. On the Defiance, helped treat wounded soldiers while coordinated repairs. They won this battle, but everyone knew it was just the beginning. Sora and her team were finally released, returned in a shuttle with a cold warning. The galaxy would not tolerate human existence. We fought back, told her when she returned. We hurt them. Sora looked tired but determined. Good, let them know we're not myths, we're survivors, and survivors don't quit. The colony began preparing for the next attack. Word spread through secret channels to other human colonies. The hiding was over. The fight had begun. The message traveled through space on frequencies only humans knew existed. Encrypted signals bounced between dead satellites and abandoned relay stations, creating a network that took 300 years to build. Within a week, every human colony in the galaxy knew what happened at its outpost. They also knew what was coming next. Admiral received the message in his quarters aboard the Remembrance, a ship that looked like a floating piece of debris, but housed humanity's largest remaining military force. He was 70 years old, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much loss. His grandfather helped build this ship when Earth fell silent. He read the message 3 times, then called his senior staff. "The Galactic Council has declared us unauthorized survivors," he told them. "They're planning systematic elimination of all human colonies. The attack on's outpost was just a test." Lieutenant Nara, his intelligence officer, pulled up star maps showing every known human settlement. Red dots scattered across the outer rim of the galaxy, each one representing thousands of lives. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Not long, maybe weeks before they mobilize a real fleet." "We can't fight the entire Galactic Union," someone said. "No," agreed, "but we can make them pay for every inch. We can show them that humans don't disappear quietly." He activated a command code that hadn't been used in generations. Throughout the galaxy, sleeper ships began waking up. Hidden facilities that looked like asteroids opened their bays. Military installations that humanity built in secret started powering up. For 300 years, humans prepared for the day they might be discovered. They built weapons from salvaged alien technology. They studied every species in the galaxy, learning their strengths and weaknesses. They trained their children not just to hide, but to fight. Today, all that preparation would be tested. Stood in the training room of Colony 7, watching civilians learn how to handle weapons. He was 55, a veteran soldier who fought in the colony border skirmishes that most people didn't even know happened. Aliens weren't the first enemy humans faced out here. Pirates, rogue colonies, and desperate circumstances taught humanity harsh lessons. "You hold it like this," he told a young woman who looked barely 20. "The recoil will surprise you the first time. Don't panic, breathe and aim again." Around the room, 100 others practiced the same basic skills. These weren't soldiers. They were farmers, engineers, teachers, and parents, but now they needed to become defenders. "Do you think we can win?" the young woman asked. "Thought about that. Win, maybe not, but we can survive. That's what humans do best." The colony leaders held a video conference, their faces appearing on screens across 13 hidden colonies. Saw familiar faces and some he'd never met in person. These were the people who kept humanity alive through 3 centuries of darkness. "The Galactic Council sees us as an error in their history books," said, his voice carrying authority that commanded respect. "They want to correct that error by erasing us. We have 2 choices. We can scatter, go deeper into hiding, and hope they never find us. Or we can stand together and show them that humanity isn't so easy to erase." "We can't win a conventional war," said a colony leader named. "They have thousands of ships. We have maybe 100 that can actually fight." "Then we don't fight conventionally," said, joining the conversation from Bridge. "We fight like humans, unpredictably, creatively. We make them afraid." "Afraid of what?" asked. "We're and outnumbered." "Afraid of what we'll do to survive," answered. "Aliens fight by rules. They have military doctrine, established tactics, and predictable strategies. We don't. We'll hit them where they don't expect. We'll use weapons they've never seen. We'll be the nightmare that makes them question every decision." Nara brought up intelligence reports. "The Galactic Council is slow to act. They need approval from multiple species before launching a major campaign. That gives us time to prepare, maybe 3 weeks." "What about allies?" Sora asked. "Some species might support us." "Maybe," said, "but we can't count on it. We plan as if we're alone." The meeting lasted hours. They coordinated defenses, shared resources, and planned strategies that would shock the galaxy. By the end, everyone knew their role. Before disconnecting, spoke up. 300 years ago, our ancestors left Earth to survive. They didn't know what they'd find out here. They just knew they couldn't give up. We're their legacy. We're proof that humanity doesn't quit, doesn't surrender, doesn't fade away. Whatever happens next, we make them remember that. The preparations began immediately. Minyu worked with engineers across the colonies to weaponize everything they could. Civilian ships got armor plating. Mining equipment became siege weapons. Even life support systems were rigged to become traps if colonies were boarded. Gathered every pilot in the fleet. There were only 60 of them, flying ships held together with spare parts and determination. He looked at their faces, seeing fear but also resolve. "The aliens think we're primitive," he told them. "They think our ships are junk and our tactics are outdated. Let's teach them that human junk can kill, and outdated tactics work when you're creative enough." They trained for scenarios no military academy taught. Kamikaze runs with ejection systems, using asteroid fields as weapons, flying through debris clouds that would blind alien sensors. Every trick, every crazy idea, every desperate maneuver got practiced. On the Remembrance stood alone in the observation deck, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien fleet was forming to destroy everything humanity built. Ships that could level planets, weapons that could crack moons, soldiers trained in 1,000 campaigns. But they never fought humans before. "Sir," Nara said, entering the deck, "I've been analyzing galactic military records. They haven't fought a real war in 50 years. Most of their forces are just peacekeepers dealing with minor disputes." "And we've been fighting to survive for 3 centuries, said. "Exactly. They have better technology, but we have better motivation." Smiled grimly. "They brushed humans off as legends, stories to tell children. Now they'll learn that legends exist for a reason." He turned to face his intelligence officer. "Send a message to every human colony. Tell them to prepare. Tell them to be ready. And tell them that when the aliens come, we show them why humanity survived this long." The message went out across the secret network. In hidden colonies on forgotten moons, in asteroid bases no one knew existed, in ships disguised as space debris, humans prepared for war. They sharpened their weapons. They checked their defenses. They said goodbye to loved ones just in case. And they waited for the galaxy to make its first mistake. The Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet arrived 3 weeks later. 60 warships, carrying enough firepower to conquer most civilizations. Commander commanded from the flagship Eternal Justice, confident that this operation would be quick and clean. "Scan all systems in this sector," he ordered. "Find every human colony and catalog them for elimination." What he didn't know was that humans had been watching them since they entered the Outer Rim. Nara's intelligence network tracked every ship movement, every communication, every tactical decision. Humanity saw them coming days before the aliens knew humans were watching. "They're splitting up," Nara reported to. 10 ships heading to Colony 7, 8 going to Colony 12. The rest are spreading out to hit multiple targets simultaneously. "Classic encirclement strategy," said, studying the tactical display. "They want to overwhelm us quickly, prevent us from coordinating a defense." "Then we give them a surprise," said. "Signal all colonies. Operation Wildfire begins now." Across the sector, humans launched their counterattack. It wasn't the battle the aliens expected. The 10 ships approaching Colony 7 detected nothing unusual until they entered weapons range. Then the asteroids around them exploded, not from being hit, but from explosive charges hidden inside them months ago. Debris filled space, creating a cloud that scrambled alien sensors. From within that cloud, human fighters emerged, led the squadron, his voice calm in the chaos. "Remember your training, hit and run. Don't let them target you. Make them waste ammunition shooting at shadows." The human fighters were smaller, faster, and flew like nothing the aliens had seen. They used the debris field like cover, appearing and disappearing. They flew in patterns that made no tactical sense, breaking every rule of space combat. And it worked. Alien ships fired massive volleys at empty space. Their targeting computers couldn't predict human movements because humans didn't follow logical flight paths. Fighters struck from impossible angles, damaged weapons systems, and vanished before return fire arrived. "This is madness," An alien pilot shouted over the comms. "They're not following any tactical doctrine." "That's because we wrote our own," muttered, spinning his fighter through a gap that shouldn't exist and firing at an enemy shield generator. Meanwhile, at Colony 12, the 8 alien ships found the colony abandoned. Buildings stood empty. Life support systems were shut down. It looked like humans fled before they arrived. The alien boarding teams entered carefully, scanning for traps. They found none, just empty corridors and abandoned equipment. Then the entire colony exploded. The whole asteroid was one massive bomb. Minu had spent weeks rigging it, turning everything into explosive material. The aliens lost 3 ships instantly. The remaining 5 retreated in panic, reporting that humans would destroy their own colonies rather than let them be captured. The Galactic Council received these reports with growing concern. This wasn't how extinct species behaved. This wasn't how conquered people fought. At Colony 3, the battle took a different form. Led ground forces in a defense that shocked alien troops. Human soldiers used the colony's tunnels like a maze, appearing behind enemy lines, setting ambushes, and using captured alien weapons against their original owners. "They're everywhere," an alien soldier screamed into his comms. "We clear a sector and they appear behind us. How are they doing this?" The answer was simple. Humans knew every inch of their colonies. They built secret passages, hidden rooms, and escape routes that weren't on any blueprint. They turned their homes into fortresses designed specifically for defense. Watched from a command center deep underground as alien troops got lost in tunnels that looped back on themselves. Some passages were trapped. Others led to dead ends where human soldiers waited in ambush. The aliens had better armor and weapons, but humans had home advantage and 300 years of paranoid preparation. On the Remembrance, coordinated the defense of 5 colonies simultaneously. His ship moved between battle zones, appearing where aliens least expected, launching strikes and vanishing before they could respond. "They're calling in reinforcements," Nara reported. "The Council is sending another 30 ships." "Good," said grimly. "The more they commit here, the fewer they have elsewhere. Signal colonies 20 through 25. Begin your operations." Those colonies weren't under attack. Instead, they launched raids on galactic supply lines. Human ships, disguised as civilian vessels, struck fuel depots, ammunition stores, and supply convoys. They didn't try to hold territory. They just disrupted, destroyed, and disappeared. The galaxy suddenly realized that humans weren't defending. They were attacking. Worked with teams across multiple colonies, analyzing alien tactics in real time and finding weaknesses. She noticed that alien ships always retreated at a certain damage threshold. They followed safety protocols that prevented acceptable losses. "They're not willing to die," she told. "Their culture, their military training, everything teaches them to preserve life above all else. Even in battle, they retreat before taking fatal risks." "And we don't," said quietly. "No, we're willing to sacrifice everything. That terrifies them." It was true. Human pilots flew missions that were borderline suicidal. Human soldiers held positions long past when they should have retreated. Human colonies fought until the last moment, then self-destructed rather than surrender. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. News spread through the Galactic Union. Some species watched the reports with horror at human brutality. Others watched with growing respect. A few began asking questions. "Why are we trying to exterminate them?" asked a representative. "They survived for 300 years without bothering anyone. They only fight because we attacked first." "They violate established protocols," another delegate argued. "Or maybe our protocols are wrong." The debate raged while the battle continued. Squadron destroyed 5 more alien ships. Ground forces captured an entire company of alien soldiers, treated their wounds, and sent them back with a message. "We don't want war. We just want to exist." But the Galactic Council, embarrassed by their losses, doubled down. They sent Admiral, their most decorated commander, with a fleet of 100 ships. "These humans are using terrorist tactics," announced. "We will crush them with overwhelming force." His fleet arrived at the largest human colony, where waited with the remembrance and every ship humanity could spare. 40 human vessels against 100 alien warships. The odds were impossible. The battle was unwinnable. But humans never cared much about odds. "All ships," broadcast to his fleet, "today we show them what legends are made of, for humanity, for our children, for everyone who died getting us this far. Make them remember us." The human fleet charged forward, not retreating, not surrendering, flying into the teeth of the enemy with determination that bordered on insanity. The aliens watched them come, and for the first time, felt something they hadn't experienced in generations. Fear. These weren't extinct primitives. These were survivors, and survivors were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The space around Colony Prime lit up with weapons fire. Its fleet dove into the alien formation like wolves among sheep, breaking every rule of fleet combat. Human ships didn't maintain formation. They scattered, regrouped, and attacked from angles that should have been impossible. Led his fighters in a run straight at Admiral's flagship. 50 alien interceptors moved to block them. The human pilots didn't slow down. "Break formation on my mark," said calmly. 3, 2, 1, break. The human fighters scattered in 12 different directions. The aliens tried to follow, splitting their force. That's when reverse thrust, something no sane pilot would do in combat, and ended up behind 3 alien fighters. He destroyed 2 before they realized what happened. "Sir, this is impossible," his tactical officer reported. "They're not following any known combat doctrine. Our computers can't predict their movements." "Then shoot everything," ordered, his calm facade cracking. "Fill the space with fire. They can't dodge what they can't see coming." The alien fleet unleashed a devastating barrage. For 30 seconds, space became a wall of energy and explosives. When it cleared, 6 human ships were destroyed. But the remaining 34 were even angrier. Commanded the Defiance alongside its flagship. They coordinated attacks on the alien fleet's support vessels, the ships carrying fuel and ammunition. Without supplies, even the most powerful warships became floating metal. "Target their logistics," called from the tactical station. "Force them to retreat or fight without support." It was working. Alien ships began running low on ammunition, some to resupply, breaking their formation. That's when human ships struck hardest, focusing fire on isolated targets. On Colony Prime's surface, commanded the ground defense as alien landed. Thousands of alien troops deployed with heavy weapons and armor. They expected to face desperate colonists with improvised defenses. Instead, they walked into a carefully planned trap. The colony's entire civilian population evacuated days ago through hidden tunnels. What remained was a ghost town rigged with every weapon and trap humans could devise. Buildings exploded when aliens entered them. Streets channeled invaders into kill zones. The few defenders who remained fought from prepared positions, making aliens pay in blood for every meter. "This is a slaughter," an alien squad leader reported. "We've lost 40% casualties and haven't seen their main force yet." "Where are they?" demanded. The answer came when led 200 soldiers out of tunnels behind the alien lines. They struck the enemy rear, cutting off retreat paths and capturing supply depots. Suddenly, the aliens were trapped between a hostile terrain in front and human soldiers behind. In orbit, the space battle reached a critical point. Its fleet was down to 20 ships, but they had disabled or destroyed 30 alien vessels. More importantly, they broke the enemy's will to fight. "Admiral, our casualties are at 50%, officer reported. Regulations require we withdraw. Stared at the tactical display, watching human ships dart through his formation like insects. These were supposed to be primitives. Instead, they fought like demons. Signal retreat, he ordered quietly. But humans weren't done. As the alien fleet squadron performed one last impossible maneuver, they flew straight at its flagship, launched all their remaining missiles, and pulled away so close to the shields that their hulls scraped against energy fields. The missiles struck the flagship's bridge, survived, but his ship was crippled, dead in space. "Did you just damage a flagship in a suicide run?" asked over the comms. "Suicide run implies we died," replied cheerfully. "I call it aggressive negotiating." On the ground, alien forces surrendered. They saw no point dying for a battle their commanders already lost, accepted their surrender, treated their wounded, and sent a message to fleet. "We don't want to kill you, we just want to live. Stop attacking us and we stop fighting back." As the defeated alien fleet limped away, something unexpected happened. A message arrived from the government, one of the major species in the Galactic Union. "We have watched your defense," the message said. "You fought with honor despite being attacked without provocation. The people formally recognize humanity as a sovereign species and call for immediate cessation of hostilities." Within hours, 2 more species joined them, then 5. The galactic opinion was shifting. The communications officer on the Defiance worked furiously to broadcast everything. The truth about the first contact, the unprovoked attacks, the human response. She sent it across every frequency, making sure the galaxy saw what really happened. "Let them know we didn't start this," she said, "but we sure as hell finished it." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The debate lasted 3 days. Some species demanded continued extermination. Others called for peace. The galaxy was dividing over the human question. Then something happened that shocked everyone. The delegate, the same species that first discovered humans, stood before the council. "I have reviewed all evidence," he said. "Humans have committed no crimes except surviving. We attacked them because they didn't fit our version of history. That's not justice. That's fear. I vote to recognize humanity." The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity was officially recognized as a sovereign species with rights to exist and govern themselves. Admiral was recalled and court-martialed for excessive force. Several council members resigned in protest or shame. The galaxy would spend years processing what happened. 6 months after the battle, stood on the surface of Colony Prime, watching construction crews rebuild damaged sections. He was only 16, too young to fight in the war but old enough to help with recovery. "They say we changed the galaxy," he said to his father, who survived the ground battle with forces. "We just showed them the truth," his father replied. "That humans don't give up, that we survive, that we matter." In space above them, human ships patrolled openly for the first time in 300 years. The Defiance, the Remembrance, and dozens of other vessels that spent generations hiding now flew with pride. Met with and the other leaders in a real conference room, not hidden bunkers or secret channels. They discussed trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and building relationships with alien species who reached out in friendship. "We lost a lot of people," said quietly. 200 soldiers in my command alone. Colonies will never rebuild." "But we're here," said. "We exist. Our children will grow up knowing they don't have to hide." Sora returned from diplomatic missions with good news. 5 species wanted to establish trade. 3 offered mutual defense pacts. The galaxy was slowly accepting that humans were here to stay. Got promoted to squadron leader, much to everyone's surprise. His first action was to establish a proper flight school, teaching the next generation of pilots human combat tactics. "Fly unpredictably," he told his students. "Make them guess, make them worry, Make them remember that humans don't fight like anyone else. Retired from military service but stayed on as a trainer. He taught young people not just how to fight but why they fought, to protect what they built, to defend their right to exist, to honor those who died giving them freedom. Continued broadcasting to the galaxy, but now her messages were about human culture, human achievements, and human dreams instead of desperate survival. The colonies began opening up, welcoming visitors from other species. Some aliens came with curiosity, others came with respect, a few came with apologies. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Remembrance, now officially recognized as humanity's flagship by the Galactic Union. He looked at the star maps showing human colonies no longer marked as hiding spots, but as recognized territories. "We did it," Nara said beside him. "We survived." "We did more than survive," replied. "We proved we belong here, that humanity has a place in this galaxy, not as myths or legends, but as people with rights and dignity." On 1,000 human colonies, children played under open skies or in station corridors without fear. Parents worked without constantly looking over their shoulders. Soldiers stood down from permanent alert for the first time in generations. Humanity stepped out of the shadows and into the light. 300 years ago, they were told they couldn't survive. They were written off as extinct, dismissed as cautionary tales. The galaxy brushed humans off as legends that never truly existed. Then humans fought back. They showed the galaxy what survivors look like, what determination means, what happens when you push a species that refuses to quit. The galaxy would never forget. The legends were real, and they were here to stay.